10 seconds.
That's hilarious.
Rise with the bluebirds shine like the sun. Now's the time to rise and shine.
On the Educational Morning Show, we're discussing social emotional characteristics and taking a look at in-depth perspectives on the issues from professionals in some of our local public school districts. I've had the opportunity to talk to Nancy Lebowski, the principal at Syracuse Elementary School, about maladaptive behaviors from an ecological perspective. So Nancy, why do you think schools respond differently to different maladaptive behaviors? For example, conduct disorders versus depressional anxiety. Well, Jessica, most individuals in school are used to dealing with children with bad behaviors, so it seems it is easier to deal with punishing the child who's acting out. But a student who is depressed may scare away individuals who are not trained to deal with that illness. Or because the student is depressed, it may not be acting out. If it is not noticeable in the classroom, it's hard to detect. Do you feel that a relationship between problems in behavior and problems in learning are deeply connected? Can you give me an example? No. Well, that question is so obviously a yes. A student who is acting out, whether from problems at home or problems at school, cannot learn. This is so obvious with poor math students and higher grades. If I can figure out what grade a concept was taught in math, and I can go down memory lane with a student, he or she can tell me parents were being divorced, they spent a lot of time out of the principal's office, etc. Math really builds on concepts you need to know and be on board for from the beginning. On the other hand, students who are struggling and don't want the teacher or the other students to know, many times will act out in the classroom and become the class clown, or get sent to the principal's office, or just not do the work. It all boils down to, if the work is not done, it cannot be said the child did it wrong or couldn't do it. It's avoidance. Students need to trust the teacher. Students need to trust that the teacher will not make fun of or embarrass other students. Looking at behavior from an ecological perspective, what personal variables do you feel are important to a student's behavior? Like environmental variables, behavioral variables? If by ecological you mean environmental, then I believe the student has to feel safe and can trust the teacher and the students in the classroom. Many students also need to have the same routine, the same teachers, the same classes, etc. Depending on the home situation, this may be the only place where a child can really rely on what is going to happen from 1 hour to the next. The room must be physically comfortable. For instance, the seating must be comfortable and it must not be too hot or too cold on a continual basis. Put me in a cold room with a hard seat and watch my attention span dwindle. There must be days when the kids are out of whack, when the daily routine is changed. Some students can't deal with it, and then they act out. Then there are the ADH kids, whose parents send them to school and refuse to have them take meds because they don't see any problems in their 5-minute-a-day dealing with them. Enough said on that subject. The kids are the ones who suffer. Do you and the teachers here use UDL principles to support socioeconomic learning? Most of the teachers I deal with are very accommodating. Some do oral quizzes for the entire classroom, so those with difficulty reading are not pulled out of the classroom for others to see. Students have to read at least 4 books a year and do reports on them. Some students are allowed to do books on tape. The independent report on book can be written or typed, be graphical project for the artistic person, or be in letter format. With the introduction of smartboards in the classrooms, the computers are integrated, so short movie clips are the norm in some classes. Science has classbook, smartboards, computer projectors, and of course the plain old whiteboards. Students are encouraged to do science optionals if they do badly on the daily grade. Optionals can be almost anything where the student can show the teacher that he or she has learned the material in class that day and they can get 100 for a daily grade. Of course, in the resource room, we do anything to help the student get the material. If I could stand on my head and I knew that it would help the kid, I would. On the whole, the teachers I deal with understand that the old way, one way of teaching, is out, and they have to accommodate all learning styles. Some are a little shaky and uncomfortable with the change, but at least they're trying. What do you think are the most prevalent maladaptive behaviors that you see in schools today? The behaviors in schools that I deal with a lot of lack of respect for adults. It may seem minor, but it comes from a lack of respect in the home, and it grows into a lack of respect for the law. Unfortunately, it is cyclic and grows bigger with each generation. Outside of school, the drug and the alcohol use in our community is staggering.